importance, Mr. Speaker. Very high importance, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Parliament has been under attack, Mr. Speaker, for quite some time now. From certain quarters, Mr. Speaker, the religious leaders and other groups, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we are not here by accident. We are not members of Parliament by accident, Mr. Speaker. We were elected by the people of Kenya, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, some of the positions that are sought after in this country, Mr. Speaker, is to be a member of Parliament. Including religious leaders, contest for these positions, Mr. Speaker. During the elections, every constituency has a minimum of 10 to 15 aspirants, Mr. Speaker. Minimum. Some more, 20, 30.
There is one in Kisii that had 45 candidates.
You can see, Mr. Yes. Speaker, you are right. One in Kisii had 45. But, Mr. Speaker, you cannot bastardize a position that has been given by the Constitution and people donating their sovereignty to them, Mr. Speaker, and you say that Parliament is useless, Parliament is captured, Parliament is this and that, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, just now, this afternoon, this sitting where we are today, we have just passed almost 5 bills, Mr. Speaker, that you read the third reading.
Very important.
Very important bills. Bills on higher education, bills on finance, Public Finance Management Act. All those bills, Mr. Speaker, are being passed in this House to make the lives of the citizens of this country better, to help the governance of this country, to make the things easier for the Kenyans so that they can get services from the executive, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I feel very, very bad when I see members taking, Parliament a joke. Mr. Speaker, Parliament is a very sacred place. It's not a small place, Mr. Speaker. But if there is no Parliament, there is no country. Because there is no taxation without Parliament. Even the executive cannot collect any money, Mr. Speaker, without Parliament. There is no democracy, as the KG has put it. Mr. Speaker, it has become now a fashion that people just stand on a queue, look for the media, and say, oh, Parliament has failed, without pinpointing and telling us what have we failed in. What is this that you expected of us that we have not done, Mr. Speaker? You must hold people accountable with facts and not to generalize and just say, I have been in this Parliament long enough. If you are not happy with other aspects of governance, don't throw it to Parliament, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
And then also, you cannot blame members of Parliament who come from the ruling party why they are supporting their government. Yes. People have been elected on parties.
Yes.
People went to be elected on Kenya Kwanza, others went to be elected on Azimio, others went to ODM. Mr. Speaker, you cannot blame a member of Parliament from the ruling party. Why is he supporting his government? He made a decision in 2022 to run on that party and to support that government. Mr. Speaker, this is the place we need to speak. If the church can speak in the church, we will also speak in Parliament. No, that's the truth of the matter. We are going to speak here. Everybody has a mouth to say, and everybody has a forum to talk. If there is no mutual respect, leadership must be respected. We are speaking on behalf of people. Every member of Parliament here has been given mandate by people. Nobody is here invited. Nobody has come here under the invitation of anyone here. Everyone has been elected. Some of the members here, like the women reps, have come here with over 400,000 votes. It's not a joke, Mr. Speaker. People don't know how difficult it is to convince 400,000 people to vote for you. People don't know that, Mr. Speaker. People don't know how difficult it is to wake up people at 5 a.m. in the morning to queue so that they can vote for you, Mr. Speaker. People don't know that. We respect our religious leaders. We respect them so much because they are the people who guide us spiritually. But, Mr. Speaker, politics is different from religion. Completely different. If you think there's an issue that you're not happy with, as a leader of another sector, a religious leader, or even whichever leadership you have, address members of Parliament with dignity and decorum. Don't belittle them. Don't make it as though they are nobodies. Mr. Speaker, these are serious people who are passing laws in this house. Laws that are going to be used to govern you yourself who are attacking them on TV. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to ask members here to stand up for their rights. The only institution that does not have a union is Parliament. Other institutions are defended by the unions, Mr. Speaker. We have now to become 416 union members here. And especially people like attacking the National Assembly. Mr. Speaker, this National Assembly has passed under your leadership for the last 2 years over 100 bills, which have been assented to by the President, which have become laws, which are helping the country. So, Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, I want to say, let us rise up for our rights. We are not going to accept this now lying down. We are going to stand up for our rights, and we are going to become the union leaders. As the minority leader, as the majority leader, now we are going to become union leaders of Parliament, Mr. Speaker. And we will defend, because institutions of governance must be respected. And Parliament is one of those institutions. Parliament has been created by the Constitution. So if we don't respect our institutions, how do we respect the mosque? How do we respect the church? If we're not respecting the institution that is used for governance. With those few remarks, Mr. Speaker, I want to urge people outside there to be respectful. Otherwise, you will know why chicken doesn't have milk. Thank you very much.
Honorable members, I will allow you, but I also want to point out the leadership of this House, including Majority Leader, Junet, my able deputy, the whips, the chairman and chairpersons of committees, we assembled in Naivasha for a meeting, a round-table meeting with KEPSA and a meeting of leadership. And one newspaper with wide circulation 2 days ago had a screaming headline that the Speaker of the National Assembly had said that members were stealing money from their bodyguards. And they were purporting to quote the outcome of the meeting where both Junet, Mwenje, Ichungwa, and all of you, Alice, you were. They were even purporting to quote some 3 members of this House as the source of information, even went on to write an editorial to call members every inconceivable name, greedy, and all sorts of things. Far from the truth, because in Chungwa, you know, we were in Naivasha, and there was no discussion of any sort about members. And yours truly here will be the last person to bastardize members of this House, having been here for as many as you can remember. So Junet is right. The Speaker is leaving the chair for another urgent meeting. My able deputy will take the chair and allow members to make comments on that important issue. Deputy Speaker, you can take the chair. Majority Leader, you can have a go. Osoro.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I also rise to support the sentiments and the concerns as raised by the Honorable Junet Mohammed. Honorable Speaker, it is very sad that this House has actually been turned as a punching bag, and people demonize everything about this House. That where we pass laws that pertain to the common man, Honorable Speaker, and that is exactly what we do, which we actually do very, very well every day, and sometimes sitting up to late into the night, Honorable Speaker, the media and even the members of the clergy do not raise concerns. They do not talk about it. But on the issue that touches on the executive, you hear them say that, you know, we haven't had anybody, you know, speak about it in the National Assembly or in the floor of the House, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, we implore on the members of the public and even the members of the clergy to be watching proceedings of this House. There is no matter of national importance that hasn't passed through this floor, Honorable Speaker, and that hasn't been spoken to, Honorable Speaker. But it is so sad that even on matters that touch on the public concerns, the issues that are so direct to the public people, like today, Honorable Speaker, we are faced with femicide, Honorable Speaker. where women are being killed and young girls are being killed all over. You have not heard the church speak about it, Honorable Speaker. You've not heard the clergy utter a single word about it, Honorable Speaker. I mean, really. But if it was an issue, Honorable Speaker, that touches on the members of the parliament, this house has even created a platform where we are raising concerns about the femicide. We expect the members of the clergy, Honorable Speaker, who are leaders also, to give us accolades and appreciate us and say, at least this house is doing 1, 2, 3 on matters that are, pertain, matters that are affecting the women of this country, Honorable Speaker. But they are not saying, Honorable Speaker, that. I want to invite the members of the clergy in particular, Honorable Speaker, to the good book that they teach. Because as a good student of the good book, as a person that went through the Sunday school, right from age 3, Honorable Speaker, to date, I have read the good book in the book of Romans chapter 13, that there is no leadership on earth that has not been placed by God. I mean, which God is that you tell us to preach when you can't respect the God that has placed the leadership, Honorable Speaker? That we only matter, Honorable Speaker, sometimes when we go to the church. If you ask any member of the parliament, Honorable Speaker, their booths or their offices are full of cards, Honorable Speaker, invitation cards for fundraising, Honorable Speaker. It is shocking. At one point, Honorable Speaker, I attended one church along Nairobi, Honorable Speaker, somewhere here with the former deputy president, who is now the president. And Honorable Speaker, they denied members or the leadership, the members of parliament to speak. But immediately we finished, they gave us a bill of 6 million, a need of 6 million, Honorable Speaker. Is our importance, very important to the extent of our contributions, Honorable Speaker, honestly. And when such contributions are made, Honorable Speaker, even upon their request, then they go out there to play with the public gallery and say we do not need members, or leadership to contribute, Honorable Speaker. This is sad. And like Honorable Majority Leader said the other day, even the members of the clergy that said they want to return the funds, and Honorable Majority Leader will speak after me, they have not actualized, they have not refunded the funds, Honorable Speaker. To date, they have not said, okay, fine, this is the check that we said, this is the check, take it back, build, because we'll build. We want to confine ourselves, Honorable Speaker. We want to confine ourselves, Honorable Speaker, to the good book again. In the book of Haggai, chapter 1, Honorable Speaker, verse 7, that we go up to the mountain and pick the trees so that you can build the church of God. You will not gag me from contributing in building the house of God because you don't like my political views, Honorable Speaker. This thing of making politicians demonized. We are demonized, Honorable Speaker, in the banks. When you go to open a bank account, you are referred as a PEP, politically exposed person, that you've got to declare that. If you are doing somewhere in business, they say, you're a politician, you will need to declare interest. When you go for if you lose your seat and you go for an interview, then you're told, you're a politically exposed person, you need to be. In any case, Honorable Speaker, we should actually be applauded. A person leading a county or a constituency with 100,000 voters, Honorable Speaker, that is an experienced manager that needs to be a manager and a CEO of Equity Bank, Honorable Speaker, which only has got an employee portfolio of 2,000 people, Honorable Speaker, or 3,000. But what happens? You lose your seat, or you are out of politics, or you appear like you've been politically inclined to some place, which is again within the law under Article 37, the rights of association. You are demonized, you are insulted, you go out there, people believe that you are taking their money. What is with this obsession of a person thinking that somebody is poor because somebody else is rich? Why can't you just respect other people's rights like you want the others to respect you, Honorable Speaker? What we are saying, Honorable Speaker, that we must learn to embrace divergent views. You have your view as a member of the clergy. I have my view. You have your view as a person from the media or the media for the state. I have my view. The divergence of views is not wrong, and that makes it democracy. We all can't think the same way. Stop demonizing members of parliament and particularly members of the National Assembly. And when you have a challenge, you want to rush to us. Anytime you have a challenge, members of parliament. When I pass through the streets, Mheshimiwa, Mheshimiwa. When I go everywhere, Mheshimiwa. When I go to Mheshimiwa. But when I come, when people go there somewhere in the media, Honorable Speaker, they insult us, Honorable Speaker. So please.
Let's give other members a chance.
Yeah, as I conclude, I want to conclude, Honorable Speaker, and say people should respect this House, Honorable Speaker. Thank you very much.
Let me give, okay. I'll come to you.
Mike.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, let me first thank the Honorable Junet for raising this issue. Because, Honorable Speaker, at times we are afraid to speak for ourselves because we'll be seen to be fighting the church or religious leaders. And let me thank Honorable Junet because the issue he has raised is not an issue where he is raising an issue that is fighting anybody, but rather fighting for ourselves as members of parliament. Honorable Speaker, if you can protect me from the member for Kericho, who is conversing in Kalenjin in the house. The book of Hebrews, Honorable Speaker, 13:16 says, but to do good and to communicate, forget not, for with such sacrifices God is pleased. Obey them that have the rule over you, and submit yourselves, for they watch for your souls as they that must give account, that they may do it with joy and not with grief, for that is unprofitable for you. That is the word of the Lord. And that word, Honorable Speaker, is the word I would like to remind our religious leaders, including my own moderator of the Presbyterian Church, the Reverend Thegu, whom I saw last night on TV admonishing this house that this house is captured, that when the executive wants us to pass bills, we pass them with lightning speed. Of course we pass them with lightning speed because that is what the people elected us to do. And we do that because we are actualizing the manifesto of what we sold to the people of Kenya, because we want to remain true to the people and to God. Therefore, because you are my moderator, you cannot admonish me simply because you hail from Nyeri and you think the impeachment process moved with speed. That speed is what is expected of us under the Constitution. The Constitution gives us timelines as to when and how you prosecute an impeachment process. And let me say, Honorable Speaker, because the Honorable Junet has done good to raise this issue, we must not be afraid to tell our religious leaders that even when we do good, as the book of Hebrews tells us, when we give in church, we do not give in church to please the bishop, the moderator, the reverend, not even the church members, the congregations in our churches. We do it because the good book in the Bible tells us, do good and communicate because it is pleasing to God. I never go to church to please my bishop. I never go to church to please my moderator. I neither go to church to satisfy the whims of my reverend. I go to church and do what I do because it is pleasing to my God, and we shall continue to do it. And if our religious class imagines they can intimidate us, I have never walked into a church, Honorable Speaker, and asked a single religious leader to give me an opportunity to speak to church. I am glad I patronize a church that's not one of the mainstream churches in Nairobi, together with the member for Kiminini, the Honorable Kakai Bisau. And we go there and we sit in church, we listen to the sermon, and we leave. We never seek anybody to give us an opportunity to address the congregation. When they are fundraising in church, I have never seen a single politician invite himself to a fundraising in church. But the church leaders must not make it look like we invite ourselves to churches to contribute money. We have many other places we can take this money. Honorable Speaker, it is true what the majority whip is saying. I accompanied the president to Soweto, the Catholic Church in Soweto, in Embakasi East. When we sat to have a cup of tea with the church leadership of that church. They are the ones who sought the president's help and our help, together with that of the governor for Nairobi, to build a house for the father. They also sought help with the road. That road to Soweto has already been advertised in the papers for its rehabilitation. When I saw the Archbishop of the Catholic Church, with all due respect to the Archbishop of the Catholic Church, write a letter that they will return some money to the president, I can confirm to the country and to this house, not a shilling, not a cent has been returned to the president. And when it is returned, there are hundreds of churches who have sent me messages and are sending the president messages. They are waiting for the money to be returned. They are willing to receive the money to do the work of God because it is pleasing to God, not to man, not to the bishop, not to the archbishop. Honorable Speaker, respect is earned. And it is two-way. We respect our church leaders. And they must earn that respect. If you speak at me, I'll speak back at you. If you respect me, I will respect you back. Honorable Speaker, I had my own moderator of the Presbyterian Church yesterday say things that I would not expect a church leader to say and speak of leaders. Because, again, if you read the book of Romans, it calls Romans 13, I think verse 1 to 4. It calls on everybody to obey authority because there is no authority that is not ordained by God himself. God is not the religious leaders. God anoints religious leaders to serve his people. God anoints political leaders and other secular leaders to lead his people. And we all serve the same people. Therefore, I know we all come from backgrounds. And I know some of these religious leaders have issues because of where they come from. But they must divorce their personal feelings from their church work. At times there are things I also want to say because based on where I come from. But I remember I am a leader in this country, a national leader. There are certain things I cannot say or do as a leader. I want to call for that wisdom from our religious leaders. I want to call for them to respect authority as commanded in the Bible. I want them to help this country. Some of the issues that I see them pointing fingers to governments on are issues of morality, are issues that they should be dealing with in society. Be it femicide, be it the growing trend of LGBTQs and everything, Honorable Speaker. Be it issues touching on corruption. I hear members saying even the anti-corruption, ethics and anti-corruption commission is headed by a bishop. Yes. And a good bishop for that matter, and we wish him well. But all these societal challenges are challenges of society that we must address them together as leaders. Both the political leadership and church leadership, or religious leaders, not just church, even our Muslim leaders. And I want to ask our leadership to work together. We cannot deal with the issues that we have seen, the challenges we have seen with femicide, challenges with our children, without working together. Honorable Speaker, our schools, if there is some moral decadence, it begins from our schools. Many of our schools are sponsored by churches. And even public schools, we have made effort in numerous public schools to be under the sponsorship of churches under the chaplaincy of churches. But that is where the rains are starting to beat us. The only reason you see men doing the kind of bad things they are doing to young girls is because there's something we lost in our moral upbringing. Not just as men, but as a society. But that is the work of the church. Where is the church? I do not see the church in those issues. The church now is more in politics than anything else. And we welcome them to politics. Indeed, this house that they are admonishing has elected bishops and reverends and others nominated, like Bishop Kosgei. Canon Naomi of the Anglican Church is a deputy whip who whips members to come and vote for bills because that is what they are elected to do. Therefore, let me just thank Honorable Junet, Honorable Speaker, but with tremendous respect, ask our church leaders. When you point a finger at a leader, look at the four that are pointing at yourself. When you admonish corruption, don't just talk about the fight against corruption, practice it. It cannot be that my money when I was a business person, and I am still a business person, was not corrupt money, but when I'm elected as a member of parliament, now I am told this is corrupt money. It can't be. You know, it is so interesting, Honorable Speaker, that they are now even choosing which political leader to speak, which one you can receive money from, which one you like, which one you don't like, which political party you like, which political party you don't like. Honorable Speaker, let me just call for mutual respect. Because I am a Christian, a practicing one, and living as one, I will live by the Bible and according to the Bible. I can read the Bible, I can interpret the Bible, I know what the Bible tells me about giving, I know what the Bible tells me about respect for church leaders. I will respect them, but I also expect them to respect those in authority back. With those many remarks, Honorable Speaker, let me thank the Honorable Junet for having raised that matter.
Honorable members, I can see that there's a lot of interest, so let's agree that we 3 minutes each. Yeah? Yes, I'll get to you. You'll get a chance. The Honorable Kainan.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we have a country. The Sovereign Republic of Kenya was born out of the sheer hard work of the great men and women who fought the colonialists. And out of their struggle, they have given us a constitution that we have amended over the years. The latest being the August 2010 constitution, which is one of the most progressive constitutions in Africa. Madam Speaker, we are also lucky as a country that we do not go through militarism. And I think because we are spoiled, because we have not seen the effects of military dictatorship that has engulfed other parts of Africa. Madam Speaker, the framers of the current constitution were not fools when they equated sovereignty, you are a seasoned lawyer, to representation. I want each one of us now to expand our horizon of thinking. Why did the framers of the current constitution equate representation to sovereignty? The reason is this. God has ordained leadership, and Madam Speaker, and the fathers of democracy. And you remember those old days in Greece where people used to gather together a whole year, agree. Representative democracy, Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, is one of the most sought after governance platform in the world, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the presidency has been criminalized. Offensive statements, malicious statements, capricious statements has been used against the president. Madam Speaker, again, let us also remember we have a head of state who doubles also as the head of government. And Madam Speaker, in our own definition, again, within the constitutional architecture, the head of state, the head of government is one with 3 branches. Many people have interpreted this to mean that there are 3 different, conflicting, competing departments. No, we only have one head of state, and that is the person with the instrument of power to govern the Sovereign Republic of Kenya, and that's the president. Let's respect the president. Let's respect the leadership. Madam Speaker, I want to ask my colleagues here, the reason why we are being pushed, I think somehow we have also failed. We need to put our foot down. That newspaper, Madam Speaker, that characterized members in a very negative light for a budget that does not even exist, should have been sanctioned by the leadership, Madam Speaker. We have failed. The Speaker should have sanctioned that newspaper either to elaborate or apologize. We have not done it. So we have allowed them to go away with a mistake. To the best of my recollection and what I've gathered, there is no budget for members. That budget that has been alluded to is not even in the current budget. How will you pay for, how do you get paid for something that is not budgeted for? So that was malicious. Madam Speaker, equally also, civility is not a sign of cowardice. The fact that we have restrained ourselves, we want to also add, let us demand for respect. Let us also ask our colleagues on the other side, whether you are in the church, whether you are a trade activist, whether you are in the village, respect is two-way. These members have been elected by the people, graciously, and they fought hard. And therefore, if you don't respect them, luckily, our election cycle is time-bound. It is 5 years. If you think you are the most qualified woman, the most qualified sheikh, the most qualified bishop, wait for 2027, present yourself to the electorate, get elected, come and do what you think is right.
Thank you. Thank you. The Honorable, we agreed 3 minutes so that every member can get a chance.
This issue of mob justice, you go to a church because you think you cannot be held accountable. You condemn everybody. We are caught in disaster, Madam Speaker. I want to appeal to the leadership of the churches and the mosques and the trade unionists and everybody else. It is incumbent upon us to respect ourselves, to respect the leadership, and also to respect those whom you have elected. When time comes, use the power of the ballot to vote them out. Don't abuse them. God does not allow that. And there's nothing Islamic, there's nothing, Madam Speaker, befitting about that. Let's respect the leadership and please
Thank
that
you.
we can have a flourishing, vibrant, functioning democracy that everybody will be proud of. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Dagoretti South, 3 minutes.
Madam Speaker, I must truly thank the Honorable Junet for bringing this matter to the floor of the House. The truth of the matter is that this country is treading dangerously. The moment you have an affront on institutions, it does not matter whether that institution is the presidency or parliament or the clergy, any civilization or any democracy needs institutions intact. Madam Speaker, we have a great example in a country called Sudan. Sudan went down the route that we want to go now. They broke down their institutions. Today, those who are clamoring for the fall of the presidency, clamoring for the fall of a government, today are crying, wishing that they would be having a government or a president. Madam Speaker, it is the good book in the book of Daniel that tells me that he changes the times and the seasons. He lifts up kings and he removes kings. He gives wisdom to those who are wise and knowledge to those who are discerning. Madam Speaker, this good book that I read is the one that tells me that leaders are to be respected. And we are not calling upon someone to respect Kyrie or to respect President Ruto. You might have your differences with President Ruto, but you cannot sacrilege the institution of presidency. The institute of parliament is sacrilegious, Madam Speaker, to have an affront like the one we are seeing from the leaders of the clergy. But most importantly, Madam Speaker, those who claim to be calling out evil, to be calling out injustice, to be calling out immorality, need to check themselves first, Madam Speaker. Because it is the good book again, in the book of Matthew, that tells me, why do you look at the log in your neighbor's eye? Why do you look at the speck in your neighbor's eye while you have a log in your own? What is happening in these institutions called religious institutions? There is nothing that they are calling out other people on that they are not doing, Madam Speaker. There is immorality in our churches. There is theft and thievery in our churches. There is a lot of evil things that are happening there. So, Madam Speaker, the point here is let the politics be done by politicians and let the clergies be true to the call that they are called to. And it is very clear in the Bible, the place of the religious leader and the place of the political leader. Because we have not traded places. We are not in the altars of churches preaching. In the same way, a preacher cannot be on the platform of politics, politicking. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Yeah, the Honorable Member for, Honorable Milio Dambo, Member for Suba, no? Those who want to contribute, put the intervention button.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I can hear members are already shouting bad girl. On this one, let me be a good girl. Madam Speaker, even though I listen and hear what my other members are saying, but I actually want to say that there are a few areas where I disagree. When the voice of the church is silent, the nation suffers. And Madam Speaker, I want to say that I agree with the church that they must speak and must call out evil. And it is indeed unfortunate that we find ourselves in a situation where members of parliament can actually be talking back and forth with the church. Did the members of parliament bring this? No. The church brought it upon themselves. And Madam Speaker, they brought it upon themselves that if you look at the last election, the church was very partisan. The church classified my party leader a demon and a devil. And they are not God, because only God knows the heart of man. You told us as the church that President Ruto was ordained by God. When did God unordain him? Or were you listening to yourselves and not to God? This is a very serious issue. The church has a place, a very special place in society. And when you cede that position to politicians, the society loses it. That is why we have femicides, things that the church should address. That is why we have rogue youth talking toxic to politicians. That is why you have people disrespecting others, because the church has decided to take politics ahead of their God-ordained duty. I want to encourage the church leaders to look at Matthew chapter 15. When the Pharisees and the teachers of the law went to confront Jesus and what they told Jesus. Because my time is up, I just want to say that if they look at what is in the book of Matthew, Jesus told them, Matthew chapter 15, they can read all of it, but Jesus told them, these people honor me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. The church needs to do serious soul searching and bring the country back to its moral and rightful place. Thank you, Honorable Jeanette, for bringing this.
The Honorable Member for Seme, Honorable James Nicol.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We are talking about a very, very important issue in the country. And I thank Honorable Jeanette for bringing this. It is true, when I walk around, I don't feel proud as a member of parliament because of the things I hear. The church is calling us out. They may not themselves be right, but I think we want to take one thing. We are elected to represent the people. We carry the burden of the people. Indeed, if a society goes wrong, that same society will appoint at the people it has elected, not realizing that the people may be representing the society as it is. So when we are being called out, there may be something. And as much as we would like to call on the church, I'll end up by saying one thing and suggesting to our leadership two things. Do we have a public relations department that actually looks at the issues and points out what is it that is going on? I think we should engage that. Number two, I think the leadership in this house should actually commission a very serious study and go to the public and find out why is the public feeling as it does about us. When those facts are available, we as representative people, as leaders, must face them squarely and address them. I don't think we are angels. And instead of bashing the church publicly, loudly like this, we should also look at ourselves. I think both sides of the society, there's a problem. We should look at ourselves, the church will look at themselves and find out. And as leaders, it is our duty to lead in this process and find out why the church is talking as it is talking about us and face those issues that we'll find out. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Sabina Chege.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I want to thank Honorable Junes for bringing that motion. And I concur with many things that I don't want to repeat what my colleagues have said. But Madam Speaker, I want to say something here that maybe no one has said. That this House also deserves to respect itself. Madam Speaker, we have had our own colleagues going out there, accusing us on all sorts of manner of things. And Madam Speaker, I have not seen anything happening to those members. I want to call upon the Speaker of this House, and I would have loved to speak when he was here, that it is time to crack the whip. Madam Speaker, we have had members of this House going to the same churches, and I respect the church so much, and we are all members of different churches, so we do not disrespect the religious leaders. But they have gone on the same altar. They have lied. They have said members of this House have been given money. They have written, and my friend Koibori was here, and he ran away when I told him I actually want to name him here. And Madam Speaker, we have powers and privilege committee. We have not seen them cracking the whip. Madam Speaker, last Sunday, which is very unfortunate, there were people who also had gone to our village. And on the same platform, in a church forum, I heard they are not members of this House, they are our colleagues in the Senate, claiming that they were given a certain amount of money, 20 million Kenya shillings, to impeach the Deputy President. Madam Speaker, why are we allowing the public to disrespect us? We are the same people who are going out there, telling lies about this House, then we complain when we are disrespected. I would urge, Madam Speaker, that members of this House, because there is a trend that they go, somebody just want to become popular, or they just want to be clapped for, so they will use this House to go and talk about things that have not happened here, and nothing happens to them. Madam Speaker, I want to say once again, it is time for the Speaker of this House to crack the whip. Let people who are lying and giving false accusation about this House be brought to book. If one of them a step is taken, Madam Speaker, I'm very sure the perception will change. Let us not go and dress ourselves out there, then we come here and cry about what the other people think about us. There's something called perception. Madam Speaker, we must clear how the outsiders, the eye of outsiders, perceive Parliament. I submit, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Alice Nganga, member for Thika Town.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. We all know when the church and the state work together, there is development. But when we start now calling each other's name, then things don't work the way they are supposed to work. I can tell you, Madam Speaker, we were in Naivasha last week, and I was quoted by the papers that there are some words that I stated when we were in Naivasha, and in all the media houses, the entire morning, it was about Addis Nganga said this, Addis Nganga talked about allowances. And I know that one is not true, but according to the people who are listening to what the papers are saying or what the media is saying, they believe whatever that was said is correct. As for what is going on to the churches, Honorable Speaker, I feel very bad, and especially when we are told not to go and give in the church. And myself, I am a believer. I believe in God. I believe in Jesus Christ. But when I am told I am not supposed to go to church and give, and Romans 6:38 says, you give and it will be given to you, good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over will be put into your bosom. For with the same measure that you give, you use, it will be measured back to you. So me as a human being, as a church goer, as a believer in Jesus Christ, if I am told not to go and give in church, that one now means that Whatever I believe in, I'm being curtailed, and that one is not fair. Let the person who wants to give to go and give. It is not all the truth all the time that the money that we give, and it is not the truth because we have been giving ever since we were young children until today. We have been giving. Now you are being told when we are mature enough that we cannot give. That is not right. And I want to say this. It is wrong when you tell the members of parliament, we have families, we have homes, we have values, we have morals. So when we are being told that we cannot give in church, we cannot participate in church because maybe something has happened at the floor of the house. When we come here, we are doing what we are elected to do, to pass laws. Whether they favor you or you are happy with them or not, that is not in your position to tell me that I should not go to church. It is wrong to tell members of parliament they should not visit church. It is very wrong, and let our God only be the judge, not a human being. You know, the Bible says that a caste is a person who put their trust in a man. We should all put our trust in God and God alone. Even the prophecies that are going across, they are being prophesied for members of parliament. I should tell them, please don't believe in those prophecies. Just trust in your God. Just trust with your prayers. Keep on praying. Our God will be the judge at the end of the day. Thank you very much.
I think lastly, let me give the honorable member for Bamachoge Chache.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Let me also give a voice on this important debate. Personally, I'm a son of a pastor. It's so sad that churches are mixing ideas like politicians. If you cannot differentiate between a church and a politician, then this country will be doomed. Let me give you an example. It's so sad and unfortunate that you find the government may be having mistakes, which is very normal. Government is composed by human beings. In the church, we believe that clergy people are preaching what God has sent them to do. And the same Bible categorically says, you must forgive your neighbor 70 times 7 in a day. That's several times in one day. Now I'm wondering, if churches are accusing, pointing fingers on politicians, pointing fingers on the president, pointing fingers to everybody, then whom are we supposed to run to? Remember, the church was meant as a solace for people having problems. It's a region whereby people should be going there for forgiveness. Churches, for example, fathers, they pray for other believers, presenting their cases to God. We cannot mix darkness and light. You cannot mix water and paraffin. They will never be mixed. That means we should differentiate categorically that we should stand as Christians and the sons of God to portray the image of God. This is the time we should let the clergy that it's high time if there is a problem facing the country, they are not supposed to point fingers to the government. They should go to the mountain and pray God to make things happen in the right way. Because if now the clergy is coming back to the nation crying and the government is crying, then what's the way forward? Let's do the right thing and know that God is not human being. You cannot charge any human. You have no right to charge another human being. All of us, we breathe one air, we breathe oxygen, given by free, given by God. This God we worship. Politicians, we do make mistakes. Politicians, we have a lot of propagandas. Politicians, we are tainted in every day, every night. You are accused of something you have never done, you never do them. But again, you find churches whereby we are supposed to go to the church, pray for forgiveness, pray that God will assist us, repent our sins. The same churches doing politics as the same politicians. So unfortunate, and I want, because of time, to say that
The honorable member for Migori.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity. Madam Speaker, I want to talk to the media and remind them that they don't have another country called media. Their country is Kenya. And for their memory, because they should be having this in their records. 207 started as a result of recklessness. And if we continue like this, we might end up there or even worse than that. So I want to tell our media houses, we love you, we watch you, and we promote you more because our business is what you do every day. I mean, without a politician giving some speech somewhere, then media has nothing to report. And anybody who watches from Migori would rush to a particular media house because they've seen Fatuma being aired. But if you pack me matope all the time, I want to tell the media houses that one day, your children will be in this house, your mothers or fathers. In fact, ironically, I remember when I was running for this seat, I had 2 media personalities who left their job to come and compete to be women reps. I know many who have come into this house as a result of being in a media house. So if this house is that bad, then why do you focus on us? Let us build our country. Let us criticize positively. And again, I insist, do not criticize if you don't have an alternative. Give us an alternative in your criticism. I will not talk much about the churches, but I want to remind them that only Allah can judge. Both me and you, it's only Allah who knows who will be in paradise and will be in the hellfire. So I'm requesting the church, I'm requesting our mosque, but I must excuse our mosque because honestly, the Muslim fraternity is not so much in politics as the other fraternity. So I'm requesting our churches, kindly pray for us. If you see Fatuma doing wrong, the best you should do for me is pray for me. But you should also call me in private and say, Fatuma, yesterday what you did was not right. That is how we were brought up. That is what we know about the churches. And that is what Jesus used to do. I never saw Jesus anywhere cast a sinner. All the time Jesus would say, you have done worse than that person. Let us pray for that person to change. So churches, this is your country, and it is through this country that you will be buried so that you go to heaven. We will not bury you in another country before you go to heaven. So please, churches, let us both be responsible. Let us pray for each other. Where we have wronged you, forgive us. Where you have wronged us, we do forgive you sincerely.
Okay, honorable members, we can now move to the next order.
Order number 12, motion. Consideration of reports on financial statements of state corporations, Nyanza region. Resumption of debate.
Honorable members, I think the chairperson of this committee had requested that we defer this particular order for later time, so we'll defer it. Next order.
Order number 13, the startup bill, Senate Bill number 14 of 2022, second reading.
I think the chairperson of the Trade Committee had requested for a few minutes. Oh, she's here. You may proceed, Honorable Mayaka. I can see that the chairperson has arrived, Honorable Marian. What's your point of order, Honorable Millie?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I don't have a problem with the starter bill. I actually really fully support it. However, I just wanted to request the House that, because this is a private member's bill, that when we have a chance to create space, that we do consider bills that are ongoing. For instance, my assisted reproductive technology bill was already in the committee of the whole House. Ideally, it's the one that should have been slotted for this time because it's equally just as important as a startup bill. So I'd request, because this Wednesday, government business took up almost all our time as private members. So when there is space, please consider my bill as a priority. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Millie. We shall make sure the clerks let the House Business Committee know that. What's your point of order, Honorable Makalu?
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the issue raised by Millie is very important, and I do agree with that. If you look at the order paper of last week, Honorable Speaker, the bill which was supposed to follow immediately was my bill, Parliamentary Amendments, Parliamentary Pensions Amendment Bill. Now, even this week, it was not in the order paper. And what makes it even very surprising, Honorable Speaker, is the fact that this bill is a bill discussing pension for these members of parliament seated here. And we don't seem to even give it any attention. I plead, Honorable Speaker, that the next opportunity for private